I'm Mary, and I'm 29 years old. 6 months ago, I thought I knew what my future looked like. A comfortable house in suburban Connecticut, family dinners every Sunday, and a husband who promised to love me through everything. Then I found the divorce papers hidden in Kevin's briefcase and realized I'd been living in a fantasy. The house we'd bought together was now solely in his name. The joint accounts had been quietly emptied. Even our daughter Emma's college fund had mysteriously vanished into investments I couldn't access. Kevin had been planning this for months while I played the perfect wife. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt completely blindsided by someone you trusted. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. The divorce was swift and brutal. Kevin's family lawyer made me look like an unfit mother who contributed nothing to the marriage. Since I'd been a stay-at-home mom for 4 years, I had no recent employment history. The judge awarded Kevin primary custody, leaving me with every other weekend and alternating holidays. My lawyer, the only one I could afford, barely glanced at my paperwork. "You should have documented more," he said, reviewing Kevin's financial statements. "Hard to prove what you can't show in court." I moved into a cramped apartment across town, the kind with thin walls and a broken air conditioner. My new life consisted of working double shifts at a local diner, saving every penny for Emma's visits, and trying not to think about how completely I'd been outmaneuvered. Kevin had remarried within 3 months. Sarah was everything I apparently wasn't: successful, independent, and childless. She worked in marketing, drove a BMW, and had never changed a diaper in her life. Emma mentioned her constantly during our brief phone calls. "Sarah bought me new clothes," Emma would say in her tiny voice. "Sarah knows all the Disney princess names. Sarah makes the best pancakes." Each mention felt like a small knife twist. This woman was becoming the mother I was supposed to be. The worst part wasn't losing Kevin. I'd gradually realized our marriage had been more convenience than love. The worst part was losing daily access to my daughter, watching another woman step into the role I'd been born to fill. But I was adapting. Slowly, painfully, I was building something new. The diner job was temporary. I'd enrolled in online courses to become a paralegal. The apartment was small, but it was mine. And Emma still ran to me every other Friday, her face lighting up when she saw me waiting in the school pickup line. I thought I was healing. I thought the worst was behind us. December arrived with an early snowstorm that turned Connecticut into a postcard. I'd been planning Emma's Christmas visit for weeks, buying presents I couldn't afford, and decorating my tiny apartment until it looked like Santa's workshop had exploded. The custody agreement gave me Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. Kevin would get her back by noon on the 25th. 20 hours. That's what my daughter's Christmas had been reduced to. Emma called me 3 days before Christmas, her voice smaller than usual. "Mommy, are you coming to get me?" "Of course." "Sweetheart. Christmas Eve, just like we planned. But Sarah said maybe we should all stay together this year. Like a real family." The words hit me like ice water. "What do you mean, baby?" "She said it might be confusing for me to go back and forth, that Santa might get mixed up about where to leave presents." I gripped the phone tighter. "Santa knows exactly where you'll be, Emma. We talked about this, remember? You get Christmas Eve with Mommy, then Christmas Day with Daddy." "Okay," she whispered, but I could hear the uncertainty in her voice. After we hung up, I called Kevin immediately. "We need to talk about Christmas." "Mary, I'm at work. Your fiancé is telling our daughter she shouldn't come to my place for Christmas. That wasn't part of our agreement." Kevin sighed, that patronizing sound I'd grown to hate during our marriage. "Sarah's just trying to help." Emma seemed confused about the schedule. Emma was fine until someone started filling her head with ideas about real families. "The custody order is clear. Kevin, don't make this harder than it has to be. Look, we could be flexible here. What if we did Christmas morning all together, for Emma's sake?" The suggestion was so absurd I almost laughed. "Absolutely not. I'll pick her up Christmas Eve at 6, just like we agreed." "Fine, but Sarah's right. You know, all this back and forth isn't healthy for a 4-year-old. I wanted to scream that 4-year-olds shouldn't have to deal with back and forth because their fathers shouldn't abandon their families for younger women. Instead, I said, "See you Monday," and hung up. That weekend, I drove to Kevin's house to drop off Emma's presents. The house looked like something from a magazine. Perfect landscaping, expensive decorations, a Mercedes and BMW in the driveway. Sarah answered the door, wearing a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Oh, hi, Mary." Her smile was practiced perfection. "Kevin's not here. I just wanted to drop these off for Emma." I held up the carefully wrapped packages. "That's so thoughtful." She took them with the kind of condescending kindness people use with children. Though, we've already gotten her quite a lot. Maybe next time check with us first. We don't want to overwhelm her. The audacity took my breath away. This woman, who'd known my daughter for 6 months, was telling me how to buy Christmas presents. Christmas Eve morning, I woke up with excitement I hadn't felt in months. Emma was coming home for Christmas. Not Kevin's house, home, to the place I'd made just for her. I'd hung lights around every window, baked sugar cookies shaped like snowmen, and wrapped her presents in paper covered with cartoon reindeer. The apartment looked magical, even if it was tiny. At exactly 6 o'clock, I pulled into Kevin's driveway. The house was ablaze with lights, and I could see movement through the large windows. A perfect family tableau, except my daughter should have been walking out that front door with her overnight bag. I knocked and waited. Sarah answered, still in that perpetual holiday sweater, but her expression was different, almost apologetic. "Mary, hi. Listen, there's been a little change of plans." My stomach dropped. "What kind of change?" "Emma's feeling a bit under the weather. Just a little cold, but Kevin thought it might be better if she stayed put tonight. You know how kids are when they're sick. They just want familiar surroundings." Through the window, I could see Emma in the living room, playing with what looked like a new dollhouse. She was laughing, running around, showing no signs of illness whatsoever. "She looks fine to me," I said evenly. "And she's supposed to be with me tonight." I know. Kevin was going to call you, but he's at the store getting medicine. Maybe you could pick her up tomorrow afternoon instead, after she's feeling better?" "Tomorrow afternoon?" "Sarah, today is Christmas Eve. Our agreement gives me Christmas Eve and Christmas morning." She tilted her head with fake sympathy. "But if she's sick?" "She's not sick." I stepped forward slightly. "I can see her through your window. She's running around perfectly fine." Sarah's mask slipped for just a second. I saw something calculating in her eyes before the concerned stepmother act resumed. "Well, even if she's feeling better now, we wouldn't want to risk her getting worse. Maybe it's better to be safe." Behind her, I heard Emma's voice. "Is that Mommy? I want to see Mommy." "Just a minute, sweetie," Sarah called back, then turned to me with that plastic smile. "Like I said, Kevin will call you later to work something out." She started to close the door. I put my hand on it firmly. "I'm not leaving without my daughter. Mary, please don't make this difficult. Emma's had a long day and—" "Emma," I called past Sarah's shoulder. "Mommy's here." I heard running footsteps, and then Emma appeared behind Sarah, her face lighting up when she saw me. "Mommy, I've been waiting for you. Sarah said you might not come because I was sick, but I'm not sick. See?" She jumped up and down to demonstrate her health. Sarah's jaw tightened. "Emma, sweetie, remember what Daddy and I talked about? About staying close to home when you're not feeling well?" Emma's face scrunched in confusion. "But I feel good. And it's Christmas Eve. Mommy and I are going to make cookies and watch movies and—" "Get your overnight bag, sweetheart," I said firmly. "We have a big night planned. Have you ever had someone try to manipulate your own child against you? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments below." Sarah and I stared at each other across the threshold while Emma ran to get her bag. The pretense of politeness had evaporated, leaving only the raw truth of our situation. "This is really unnecessary," Sarah said quietly. "We're just trying to do what's best for Emma. What's best for Emma is following the custody agreement her parents legally established." Her parents. Sarah's emphasis was subtle but clear. "You know, Mary, I hope someday we can all work together as a family, for Emma's sake." The word family coming from her lips made my skin crawl. "Emma has a family. She has a mother and a father. You're her father's girlfriend." "Fiancée," Sarah corrected coolly. "And soon stepmother. Kevin and I are thinking it might be time to revisit the custody arrangement. Something more stable for Emma." The threat hung in the air between us. Before I could respond, Emma bounced back with her little pink suitcase, completely oblivious to the tension crackling around her. "Ready, Mommy. I packed my new pajamas and my teddy bear and the book Sarah got me about princesses." "That sounds perfect." "Baby." I took her hand and her suitcase. "Say goodbye to Sarah." "Bye, Sarah. Tell Daddy I'll see him tomorrow." As we walked to my car, I could feel Sarah watching from the doorway. Emma chattered excitedly about the cookies we'd bake and the movies we'd watch, her innocent joy a stark contrast to the cold dread settling in my chest. The evening was magical despite everything. Emma and I made sugar cookies shaped like Christmas trees, decorated them with green frosting and sprinkles, and watched the Polar Express while drinking hot chocolate with marshmallows. "Mommy," Emma said as I tucked her into the pull-out couch that served as her bed. "Why did Sarah say I was sick?" "I wasn't sick." I chose my words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups get confused about things. But you're here now, and that's what matters. Are you and Daddy and Sarah going to be friends someday? The question broke my heart. I hope we can all get along for your sake. Sweetheart, the most important thing is that Daddy and I both love you very much. And Sarah loves me too. She tells me all the time. I swallowed hard. I'm sure she does. After Emma fell asleep, I sat in my kitchen with a cup of coffee, trying to process what had happened. Sarah's threat about revisiting custody wasn't idle. Kevin had money, connections, and a new wife who could provide what the courts called stability. I had a one-bedroom apartment, a job that barely covered rent, and a track record of being financially dependent. If they decided to fight me for custody, what chance did I really have? Christmas morning arrived with Emma's delighted squeals as she discovered that Santa had indeed found our little apartment. We opened presents slowly, savoring each moment, because I knew she'd be gone by noon. Mommy, look! Santa brought me the art set I wanted. Emma held up the box of crayons and colored pencils I'd saved 3 weeks to buy. That's wonderful, sweetheart. What are you going to draw first? A picture of our Christmas. With you and me and the cookies and the tree and everything. My phone buzzed with a text from Kevin. Running late, pick up at 1 instead of 12. 1 extra hour. I'd take it. Emma was halfway through her drawing when my phone rang. Kevin's name flashed on the screen. Hey, quick question, he said without preamble. Did you let Emma eat a lot of sugar last night? She seemed pretty wound up when I talked to her this morning. We made Christmas cookies. It's Christmas Eve, Kevin. Right, well, Sarah thinks maybe we should be more careful about Emma's diet. All that sugar isn't great for her sleep schedule. I looked at Emma, contentedly drawing at my kitchen table, creating her masterpiece of our perfect Christmas morning. She slept fine. Okay, well, anyway, I'm actually calling because we need to push pickup to 3 o'clock. Sarah's parents are driving up from the city and traffic is brutal. My heart sank. 3 o'clock meant losing another 2 hours of our already limited time. Kevin, you already changed it to 1. We only have Christmas morning together as it is. I know, but they're bringing Emma's present from them, and it would mean a lot if she could open it today. It's this really expensive dollhouse, custom made. Of course it was expensive. Everything in Emma's other life was expensive. Fine, 3 o'clock. When I told Emma about the delay, she was thrilled. More time with Mommy, she cheered, throwing her arms around my neck. At 2:45, I started getting Emma ready to go. She moved slowly, dragging her feet as she packed her bag. Do I have to go back today, Mommy? Yes, sweetheart. But we had such a wonderful time, didn't we? The best time ever. She hugged her stuffed animal tight. I wish I could live with you all the time. The words were like a punch to the gut. I wish that too, baby. At exactly 3 o'clock, I drove to Kevin's house with Emma's bag and her new artwork carefully stored in a folder. The driveway was full of cars, Sarah's BMW, Kevin's Mercedes, and 2 others I didn't recognize. Through the windows, I could see people gathered in the living room, drinks in hand, laughing. A party. They were having a Christmas party while I sat alone in my empty apartment. Emma rang the doorbell, and Kevin answered wearing a sweater I'd never seen before, probably Sarah's choice. Hey, Em, how was your night with Mom? Amazing. Look what I drew. Emma held up her Christmas picture proudly. That's great, sweetheart. Why don't you go show Sarah and her parents? Emma ran inside, leaving Kevin and me on the doorstep. I could hear her excited voice explaining her drawing to a room full of strangers. So, Kevin said awkwardly, how are things? Things are fine, Kevin. Emma had a wonderful Christmas. Good, good. Listen, Sarah mentioned you seemed upset yesterday about the custody thing. She was just thinking out loud. You know, nothing official. Nothing official yet. I corrected. The words came out sharper than I intended. Kevin shifted uncomfortably. Mary, come on. We're all trying to make this work for Emma's sake. Are we? Because from where I stand, it looks like you're trying to push me out of my daughter's life. That's not... Look, maybe we should talk about this later, when we're not both stressed about the holidays. Through the open door, I could hear laughter and conversation. Emma's voice rose above the others. My mommy makes the best cookies in the whole world. Mom makes good cookies too, I heard Sarah say. Maybe we can make some together next time. The casual way she inserted herself into every aspect of Emma's life made my blood boil. Kevin, I need to ask you something and I want an honest answer. He crossed his arms. Okay. Are you planning to file for full custody? The pause before his answer told me everything. We're exploring our options. Based on what grounds? Mary, you work at a diner. You live in a one-bedroom apartment. Emma's bedroom here has her own bathroom, a walk-in closet, and educational toys chosen by child development experts. I work at a diner because I'm putting myself through paralegal school while trying to rebuild the life you destroyed. Emma's bedroom at my place has everything she needs plus something your house can't provide. Which is her mother's undivided attention. Kevin's jaw tightened. Sarah loves Emma like her own daughter. Sarah has known Emma for 6 months. I carried her for 9 months, gave birth to her, nursed her through every illness, celebrated every milestone. You don't replace that with expensive toys and a bigger bedroom. Maybe not, Kevin said quietly. But courts care about stability. Mary, financial stability, educational opportunities. Emma could go to private school here. She could have tutors, music lessons, sports camps. Things I can't afford, you mean. Things that would give her advantages. I stared at him. This man I'd once loved enough to marry, who was now calculating how to take our daughter away from me based on dollar signs. She's 4 years old, Kevin. She doesn't need advantages. She needs her mother. She has you every other weekend. Every other weekend. I repeated the words slowly. Is that really what you think motherhood should be reduced to? Twice monthly visits? Before he could answer, Emma appeared in the doorway. Mommy, come see the dollhouse. It's as big as my bedroom. I knelt down to her level. That sounds amazing, sweetheart. But Mommy has to go now. But you just got here. I've been here for a few minutes, Em. We spent all morning together, remember? Oh yeah, her face brightened. We made the best Christmas ever. When can we do it again? Soon, baby. Very soon. I hugged her tight, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, memorizing the feel of her small arms around my neck. These moments were becoming precious because I was learning they could be taken away. As I drove home through the darkening afternoon, Sarah's words echoed in my mind. Maybe it's time to revisit the custody arrangement. They were coming for my daughter, and I was just beginning to understand how much I was willing to fight to keep her. I had no idea that in less than a week, everything would change, that I would discover something that would give me all the ammunition I needed to not just fight back, but to win. 3 days after Christmas, I made a decision that would change everything. I hired a private investigator. The woman's name was Janet Mitchell, a former police detective who specialized in custody cases. Her office was small but professional, filled with case files and certificates that proved she knew how to find things people wanted to keep hidden. I need to know everything about my ex-husband's financial situation, I told her. His new fiancé, his business dealings, anything that might be relevant to a custody case. Janet studied me across her desk. This isn't cheap, Mary. Are you sure you want to go down this road? I thought about Kevin's threat, about Sarah's smug confidence, about the way they were slowly erasing me from my daughter's life. I'm sure. It'll take a few weeks to compile everything. In the meantime, document every interaction with them. Save every text, every email, every voicemail. Keep detailed notes about your visits with Emma, times, activities, anything unusual she says. I left Janet's office feeling lighter than I had in months. For the first time since the divorce, I was taking action instead of just reacting. That evening, Emma called from Kevin's house. Mommy, guess what? We're going on a big trip. Oh, really? Where to? Sweetheart? Sarah says it's a surprise, but I heard her tell Grandma Patricia we're going to Disneyland. My stomach dropped. When is this trip happening? After New Year. Sarah says we'll see Mickey Mouse and stay in a castle and eat princess food. The trip would eat into my custody time. I was certain of it. That sounds wonderful, baby. Make sure to take lots of pictures to show Mommy. After we hung up, I immediately texted Kevin. Need to discuss Emma's Disneyland trip and how it affects our custody schedule. His response came 2 hours later. We'll work something out. But I knew better now. Working something out meant I'd get whatever scraps they decided to throw me. The next morning, I called Janet. They're planning to take Emma on a week-long trip to Disneyland. It's going to interfere with my custody time. Document everything, Janet said. Date, time, how you found out, their response when you questioned it. Keep building your case. New Year's Eve arrived gray and cold. I spent it alone in my apartment, watching the ball drop on TV while Emma celebrated at Kevin's house. Sarah had posted photos on social media. Emma in a sparkly dress, holding a mini champagne glass filled with apple juice, surrounded by adults I didn't recognize. My daughter was living a life I wasn't part of. Worse, she was forgetting what life with me was like. January 2nd, Kevin texted, picking Emma up early for Disneyland prep. Can we switch to Saturday afternoon instead of Friday? Another hour stolen. Another small victory for them. Fine, I texted back. But we need to discuss the missed custody time. Already talked to my lawyer. Trip doesn't technically violate the agreement since we're only gone 5 days. Technically, everything with Kevin had become about technicalities. Saturday came and I drove to his house to collect Emma. The driveway was full of suitcases, and I could see through the window as Sarah organized piles of new clothes. Everything Emma would need for her magical vacation. Emma ran out wearing a new outfit I'd never seen before, her hair styled in elaborate braids that had clearly taken someone hours to create. "Mommy, look at my hair. Sarah did it special for our trip." "It's beautiful, sweetheart." I forced a smile while my heart broke a little more. As we drove away, Emma chattered excitedly about the trip. Every sentence started with, "Sarah says," or "Sarah promised," or "Sarah showed me pictures." Sarah. Always Sarah. "Mommy," Emma said suddenly, "why don't you ever take me on big trips?" The innocent question hit like a physical blow. How do you explain to a 4-year-old that mommy works 2 jobs just to afford groceries while daddy's new family has unlimited funds for magical vacations? "Well, sweetheart, we have our own special adventures. Don't we? Remember our Christmas cookies and movie nights?" "Yeah, but Sarah says Disneyland is the most magical place on Earth. She says I'll see real princesses." What do you think happens when one parent can afford Disneyland while the other can barely afford dinner? Have you seen how money gets weaponized in custody battles? Share your thoughts below. Janet called me on January 15th with news that made my hands shake. "I found something interesting about your ex-husband's business," she said. "Kevin's been hiding assets through his company. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, investment properties listed under fake names. We're talking about substantial money that was never disclosed during your divorce." I sat down hard on my couch. How much money? Close to $2 million. Maybe more. Money that should have been considered marital assets. The room spun around me. $2 million. While I'd been awarded a settlement of $30,000 and minimal alimony, Kevin had been sitting on a fortune. "There's more," Janet continued. "His fiancée, Sarah? She's been helping him hide assets. Her marketing company has been billing his business for services never rendered. It's money laundering, Mary. They've been funneling marital assets through her business to keep them away from you." I could barely breathe. What does this mean? "It means you were defrauded. Your divorce settlement was based on false financial information. You have grounds to reopen the entire case." Can they get in trouble for this? Legal trouble? Absolutely. We're talking about fraud, tax evasion, possibly criminal charges depending on how deep this goes. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Kevin's confident smirk when he'd threatened to take Emma away from me, his casual dismissal of my ability to provide for our daughter, Sarah's condescending comments about stability and advantages they'd stolen from me. Not just money, but years of Emma's life. Time I'd lost with my daughter because I couldn't afford to fight their custody grab. Now I could fight back. The next week, Emma returned from Disneyland full of stories about princesses and rides and the hotel room that was bigger than Mommy's whole apartment. She showed me hundreds of photos on Kevin's phone, her face glowing with joy in every single one. "Did you have the best time ever?" I asked, genuinely happy to see her so excited. "The best. Sarah says maybe we can go back for my birthday." "That would be nice, sweetheart." "Mommy, why do you look sad? Don't you like my Disneyland pictures?" I pulled her onto my lap. "I love your pictures, baby. I love seeing you happy. I just missed you while you were gone." "I missed you too. But Sarah says missing people makes you appreciate them more when you see them again." Sarah says. The phrase that had become the soundtrack of my life. "Sarah's very smart," I managed. That evening, after I'd returned Emma to Kevin's house, I called my new lawyer, one of the best family attorneys in Connecticut, paid for with money I'd borrowed against my future settlement. "We have enough evidence to not only reopen your divorce case, but to file criminal charges," she told me. "The question is, how far do you want to take this?" I thought about Emma in that sparkly dress, surrounded by Kevin's wealth while I scraped together coins for gas money. I thought about Sarah's threats and Kevin's dismissive attitude, and the way they'd both assumed I was too weak to fight back. "As far as the law allows," I said. The call came at 11 o'clock on a Thursday night in late January. Kevin's panicked voice crackled through my phone. "Mary, I need you to come get Emma. There's been an incident." "What kind of incident? Is she hurt?" No, she's fine. But Child Services is here, and they're asking questions about living conditions. Sarah and I need to sort some things out." My blood turned to ice. "Child Services? Kevin, what happened? Just come get her, okay? We'll explain everything later." I threw on clothes and drove through the snowy night to Kevin's house. Police cars lined the street, their red and blue lights painting the snow in eerie colors. A social worker met me at the front door. "Ms. Thompson, I'm Linda Walsh from the Department of Children and Families. We need to place Emma with you temporarily while we investigate the living situation here." What investigation? What's going on? Behind her? I could see Kevin pacing in the living room, while Sarah sat on the couch, her head in her hands. Both looked like their perfect world had just imploded. A neighbor called about possible neglect. We found Emma outside in the backyard at 10 o'clock at night, in 30-degree weather, wearing only pajamas. She said she was locked out of the house. My knees nearly buckled. Where was she locked out? According to Emma, she went outside to look for her stuffed animal and the door locked behind her. She said she knocked and called for her parents, but no one heard her. Where were Kevin and Sarah? Linda's expression darkened. They claim they were in the basement, doing laundry with music playing. They say they didn't hear her. I looked past Linda to see Emma sitting in a police car, wrapped in a blanket, clutching the teddy bear I'd bought her for Christmas. She looked so small, so scared. How long was she outside? We're not sure. The neighbor who called said she first noticed Emma around 9:30, but didn't call immediately because she thought parents were nearby. When she looked again at 10 and saw Emma still there, crying, she called 911. 30 minutes. My 4-year-old daughter had been locked outside in freezing weather for at least 30 minutes while her father and his fiancé claimed they were doing laundry. Can I take her home now? Yes. We'll need to do a full investigation before determining if she can return to her father's custody. As I walked toward the police car, Kevin intercepted me. Mary, this isn't what it looks like. Emma knows she's not supposed to go outside alone. We've told her 100 times. She's 4 years old. Kevin, 4-year-olds don't have perfect judgment about doors locking behind them. The door doesn't usually lock automatically. There must have been a malfunction. There must have been, I repeated flatly. Just like there must have been a reason you couldn't hear your daughter screaming for help. We were in the basement. I don't care where you were. Our daughter was outside alone in freezing weather. She could have died. Kevin's face crumpled. Mary, please, you know I would never intentionally hurt Emma. This was an accident. Was it? Because from where I stand, it looks like criminal negligence. I continued to the police car where Emma sat shivering despite the blanket. Mommy! She reached for me as I opened the door. I was so scared. I couldn't get back inside and it was so cold and I called for Daddy, but he didn't come. I lifted her out of the car, holding her tight against my chest. She was still cold, her little hands like ice against my neck. You're safe now. Baby, Mommy's here. As I carried Emma to my car, I heard Sarah's voice behind me. This is going to ruin everything. She was right, but not in the way she thought. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for the following Monday. By then, Janet's investigation had uncovered even more damaging information about Kevin and Sarah's lifestyle. They've been throwing parties while Emma was in the house, Janet reported. Social media posts show adults drinking heavily, staying late into the night. One neighbor mentioned seeing Sarah passed out on the front lawn after a party last month, while Emma was there. According to the timestamps on the social media posts, yes. My lawyer, Patricia Chen, reviewed the evidence with practiced efficiency. Between the financial fraud, the negligence incident, and the pattern of questionable parenting choices, we have grounds to petition for full custody. What are the chances? With this much evidence? Very good. But Mary, you need to understand, Kevin and Sarah are going to fight dirty. They're going to try to make you look unfit. How? Your living situation, your employment history, anything they can twist to make you seem unstable. I thought about my tiny apartment, my job at the diner, my night school classes. Everything that had been used against me before. Let them try, I said. The difference is, everything they're going to say about me is irrelevant to Emma's safety. Everything we're saying about them could have killed her. The weekend before the hearing, Emma stayed with me. She was different, quieter, more clingy. She kept asking if she was in trouble for going outside. No, sweetheart, you're not in trouble at all. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, and we have to make sure everyone stays safe. Is Daddy in trouble? The question broke my heart. Despite everything, Emma loved her father. I couldn't destroy that, even if I wanted to. Daddy and Sarah need to learn some new ways to keep you safe. That's what the judge is going to help figure out. Monday morning arrived gray and cold. I dressed Emma in her nicest outfit and took her to my neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd volunteered to watch her during the hearing. Bring her home, mija, Mrs. Rodriguez whispered as I hugged Emma goodbye. The courthouse was intimidating, all marble and authority. Kevin sat at one table with his lawyer, Sarah beside him in a conservative outfit that couldn't hide the panic in her eyes. They'd hired one of the most expensive family lawyers in the state. My lawyer was good, but she wasn't fancy. What she had was truth on her side. The hearing lasted 3 hours. Kevin's lawyer tried to paint me as a vindictive ex-wife using my daughter as a weapon. My lawyer presented bank records, social media posts, police reports, and Janet's investigation findings. The moment that changed everything came when Judge Morrison asked Kevin directly, "Mr. Thompson, can you explain how you didn't hear your daughter calling for help?" Kevin stammered through his explanation about basement laundry and loud music. It sounded weak even to his own ears. "And Ms. Bennett," the judge turned to Sarah, "you were also in the basement during this time?" "Yes, Your Honor. We were reorganizing storage and had music playing while we worked." "At 10 o'clock on a school night?" Sarah's face flushed. We like to be productive in the evenings." Judge Morrison's expression remained neutral, but I could see the skepticism in his eyes. The final blow came when my lawyer presented photos from Sarah's Instagram account. Pictures posted the same night Emma was locked outside, showing Sarah and Kevin drinking wine and laughing in what was clearly the main floor living room, not the basement. "Your Honor," my lawyer said quietly, "these photos were posted at 9:47 p.m. The metadata confirms the time and location. They show Mr. Thompson and Ms. Bennett on the main floor of their home, not in the basement, at the exact time they claim they couldn't hear Emma calling for help." The silence in the courtroom was deafening. Judge Morrison didn't rule immediately. He scheduled a follow-up hearing for the following week, ordering supervised visitation for Kevin and a full investigation into the household by Child Services. "This is temporary," Patricia warned me as we left the courthouse. "Don't celebrate yet." But I couldn't help feeling hopeful for the first time in months. Emma was safe with me, and the truth was finally coming out. That evening, as Emma and I made dinner together in my tiny kitchen, she asked the question I'd been dreading. "Mommy, am I going to live with you now?" "We'll have to wait and see what the judge decides, sweetheart." "I hope I can stay with you," she said quietly. "I like it better here." "Why?" "Because you always know where I am." The simple statement hit me like a physical blow. My 4-year-old had learned that safety meant having a parent who paid attention. The next week brought a series of revelations that destroyed Kevin and Sarah's remaining credibility. The Child Services investigation uncovered evidence of regular parties, inadequate childproofing, and a household where Emma's needs consistently came second to the adult's social life. More damaging was the financial investigation triggered by our custody case. The IRS had taken notice of Kevin's hidden assets, and federal agents were now involved in what had become a criminal case. Kevin's lawyer called Patricia on Thursday with a settlement offer. "He wants to negotiate," Patricia told me. "Full custody to you, supervised visitation for him, and he'll pay you the money you should have received in the original divorce settlement." "How much money?" $800,000. Plus ongoing child support. That's triple what you're getting now. I sat in stunned silence. $800,000 would buy Emma and me a house, pay for her college, give us the stability Kevin had claimed only he could provide. What about criminal charges? That's separate. The DA will decide whether to prosecute the fraud and negligence charges regardless of what we do in family court. I thought about Emma, safely asleep in my living room, her artwork covering my refrigerator, her laugh filling my small apartment with joy. "I accept," I said, "but I want something else." "What?" "I want Sarah to have no legal relationship to Emma. No step-parent rights, no decision-making authority, nothing. If Kevin wants any chance at rebuilding a relationship with his daughter, Sarah can't be part of it." Patricia was quiet for a moment. "That's actually brilliant, and completely reasonable given the circumstances." The final hearing was scheduled for the day before Emma's 5th birthday. Kevin looked haggard, Sarah was noticeably absent, and their lawyer seemed eager to get the whole thing over with. Judge Morrison approved the settlement without comment, officially awarding me full custody of Emma and ordering Kevin to pay both the settlement and ongoing support. "Mr. Thompson," the judge said before dismissing us, "you're fortunate that your ex-wife is more interested in your daughter's welfare than in destroying your life. I suggest you spend your supervised visitation learning how to be the father your daughter deserves." As we left the courthouse, Kevin stopped me in the hallway. "Mary, I'm sorry for all of it. The hiding money, the custody threat, what happened that night with Emma. I lost sight of what mattered. I looked at this man who'd once been my husband, who'd given me the most precious thing in my life, who'd then tried to take her away. I hope you figure out how to be a better father, Kevin. Emma deserves that. She deserves you," he said quietly. She always did. 6 months later, Emma and I moved into our new house, a modest 3-bedroom colonial with a fenced backyard and a kitchen big enough for us to bake cookies together. Emma chose her own bedroom furniture, painted her walls lavender, and hung her artwork in frames like a real gallery. "Mommy, is this really ours forever?" she asked as we planted flowers in our front garden. "Forever and always, sweetheart." Kevin sees Emma every other Saturday for supervised visits. He's been attending parenting classes and seems genuinely committed to rebuilding their relationship. Sarah is completely out of the picture. Their engagement ended when the criminal charges were filed. The federal investigation resulted in Kevin pleading guilty to tax evasion and fraud. He received 2 years probation and substantial fines. Sarah faced charges for her role in the money laundering scheme. But the real victory wasn't the money or the custody ruling. It was watching Emma flourish in an environment where she felt truly safe and loved. She started kindergarten at a school near our new house, made friends easily, and never asked why Daddy couldn't hear her calling for help that night. Children are resilient, but they remember feeling safe more than they remember feeling scared. I finished my paralegal certification and took a job at Patricia's law firm, specializing in helping other women navigate custody battles. The work is meaningful, and the salary gives us the security I'd only dreamed of during those dark months after the divorce. You know what I learned from all this? I told my friend Charlotte over coffee last week. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you sets you up for the best thing that could happen to you. What do you mean? If Kevin hadn't tried to take Emma away from me, I never would have hired an investigator. I never would have discovered the hidden assets. I would have spent years struggling financially while he lived in luxury. His greed and negligence gave me everything I needed to win. Emma interrupted our conversation by running up to our table, her face flushed from playing on the playground. "Mommy, can we go home and make cookies?" "Of course, sweetheart." As we walked to our car, Emma slipped her hand into mine. "Mommy, I'm glad we live together, just us." "Me too, baby. Me too." The custody battle that was supposed to destroy me ended up saving us both. Sometimes the people who underestimate you give you the greatest gift of all, the motivation to prove them wrong. If this story resonated with you, make sure to like and subscribe for more real-life stories of overcoming the odds. Remember, no matter how powerless you feel, truth has a way of surfacing when you're brave enough to fight for it. And to any parent fighting for their child, document everything. Trust your instincts and never give up. Your kids are counting on you to be their voice when they can't speak for themselves. Thank you for listening to Emma's and my story. Sometimes the ending you didn't plan turns out to be exactly the beginning you needed.